Very good evening. It's Wednesday evening, and a thrilling day of football coming up. We'll speak about St Mirren against Aberdeen last night, but first and foremost, we've got to introduce the one and only Jenna Thompson. Jenna, how are we?
I'm great. What about you, Dave?
Not bad, and it's obviously myself, Mr. Dave Smith. So, we've got the thrilling night of football, but first and foremost, Jenna, let's go to last night. Obviously, St Mirren won, Aberdeen nil. And the disappointment was Aberdeen, but St Mirren, all due credit to them because it was their first win in 4.5 months at home.
Yeah, absolutely. St Mirren played really well last night. I mean, I was listening to the game on Sportsound, and that's what they said was their tactics were amazing. They never really let Aberdeen actually get into the game. They were always on their toes to try to keep them out, and I think they did really well. I was kind of disappointed with the lack of shots on target from both sides, despite having a really attacking-centred team last night. St Mirren really didn't produce much in terms of like actually on-target attempts, but I suppose as long as one goal goes in, that's all you need sometimes, isn't it?
Absolutely. Just to clarify to the viewers, I am at St Johnstone against Dundee right now, so that's why I'm not in the comfort of my own home, and that's exactly why I've got a scarf on right now. And I'm actually surprised you didn't hear my background just now, Jenna, because there was thunder and lightning here just this minute. So, yeah, there we go. But St Mirren, cracking goal by Conor Ronan, tucked it sweetly into the bottom right-hand corner from an Aberdeen persuasion. Good goal from St Mirren. From Aberdeen, could Calvin Ramsey have done a bit better?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. I mean, all of Aberdeen's defence last night wasn't on par as well. I mean, the full game was a bit of a shambles, to be honest. Aberdeen, as I was kind of saying, just didn't get into the game. I don't know what it was. It just seems as if they were lacking ambition. Don't get me wrong, sometimes they did kind of impress me, but it was nothing worthy of actually being like, oh, okay, that's a good pass, that's a good bit of defence, that's maybe a good attempt, but if he did this thing or the next thing, it would have been better. But overall, I was feeling the pain that Stephen Glass was probably feeling of what the hell happened to this team and how can I turn it around as quick as possible. Because that Aberdeen that we're playing last night was kind of similar to the one that was playing at the start of the season, around like September, October time, I think, where they were struggling to get results. So hopefully it doesn't go down that way again. But see, after watching that last night, I just want to know why. Do you know what I mean? Like, it was really bad. Just out of the blue, they had a good result against Rangers, a good display, and then to go from that to that, it's kind of like, where the hell, guys? Do you know what I mean?
I mean, Jim Goodwin has changed the whole setup during the shutdown for St Mirren. It's what they're treating, and a good performance in Tynecastle. They beat Dundee United away from home. They beat them in the Scottish Cup on Saturday, and then followed by what was a comprehensive performance in terms of that rolling strike by beating Aberdeen the end last night. What a turnaround from Jim Goodwin and St Mirren.
Yeah, definitely. Jim Goodwin's got every right to be happy about the game. It was really well. It was good to see Charles Dunn get a game as well. I don't know how much he's played for St Mirren, but whenever I've had a nosy at team sheets, he has been on them, so it's good to see him play. Obviously, I wish all former Mullow players well on their new ventures, just not against us. But yeah, I mean, it was a really good game for them. I think he was asked about Jamie McGrath in one of the press questions if he was staying or going, and he basically said that same thing has kind of been saying to Sky Sports of, like, I've told the guy if he goes, okay, but keep all the thoughts about that off the pitch and perform for us, which, I mean, fair enough, but if he does get money for him, that could be another good couple, like a striker, like even a couple of defenders in the mix as well for St Mirren. So I think Jim Goodwin needs to be savvy about the way he plays his team the next couple of weeks till the transfer window finishes, and has to be savvy about what he does with certain players.
Yeah, absolutely. By the way, if you're just wondering why I'm looking at it, it's kind of Crawford to my right-hand side, wondering what seat he's sitting on this fine Wednesday evening. So apologies if you were interrupted there. For St Mirren, they can get a lot of confidence from this. Conor Ronan, I think he showed glimpses at the beginning of the season, just how he can get into good angles, get into good channels. Last night he showed that with that prolific finish.
Yeah, absolutely. Goal was an absolute cracker. I mean, I was watching it on Sportsound, so I didn't actually see the goal, but see the way it was described and like the sheer excitement from like the Willie Muller and that when they seen it go in, it sounded really good. I've seen some replays of it at different angles, and Jim Goodwin himself said I didn't actually think that went in until like the ref went, no, it went in, it was fine. So I mean, fair play. The goal was absolutely amazing. It's one that St Mirren's been needing badly.
For Aberdeen, poor away form continues. The last time they won away from home was St Johnstone, and that was the only time they've won away from home since quarterback back in August. which means their away form hasn't been great, to say the least.
Yeah, I mean, a dip in form kind of happens to all teams, but to have that drastic of a statistic against your name, it is worrying. Aberdeen used to always be a contender for top 4 every year, and this year I think they'll struggle to get that, because it's away games like that you really need to think about, right, how can I get as much points from this game as possible, and they're just not doing it.
I mean, they've got the nucleus of a good squad. They've got a good cohesion. Even like the Scott Brown and other players weren't exactly on the boil last night or on the ball. They were one of the players that were kind of getting a little bit lethargic and a little bit isolated in the midfield area for Aberdeen last night.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, on paper, Aberdeen are a really strong side. I mean, they've got Scott Brown in the fold. Calvin Ramsey's a good player. Pritchard Ramirez is a good player as well. Declan Gallagher, Scotland internationalist, fair enough on the bench most of the time, but it's still a good, strong option. But they're just not providing the results they should with the team they've got.
Now, I touched it last night, Jenna. Declan Gallagher has been touted. I mean, touted, right? It hasn't come from us. It's touted. But he's been touted for a loan move to Dundee. There's reports going about that he trained Dundee today, but he was on the bench last night, and seemingly he's fell out of favour a little bit with Stephen Glass.
I wouldn't be surprised, to be honest. I mean, I used to be a massive fan of Declan when he was playing for Motherwell. I'd make no secret of that. He was one of my favourite players. He was a really nice guy. But when he moved to Aberdeen, everyone's like, well, that's clearly for money. Europe, okay, we can understand that. Then he wasn't getting a game. So I think if he's just looking for game time, Dundee is probably the best option. I mean, we've been seeing the past couple of weeks in the show Dundee are needing to make some major squad changes as well. So if they're able to get him in, that's brilliant for him. And plus, I'm pretty sure he stays in Dundee as well. So it means even less travelling about for him, from going down to Motherwell, obviously, to Livingston, to Aberdeen and back. I think it'll be based on convenience for him. But I will say, the petty football fan in me is just saying, why are all the Dundee teams taking all my favourite players?
I know.
That's less of a career thing and more of a me thing.
Yeah. With regards to Mirren, they go to Dundee on Saturday. Obviously, we've got to wait to see what happens tonight. There's a big evening of football lying ahead of us. For St Mirren, they can take a lot of confidence going into Dens Park on Saturday, playing a Dundee side that I hope picked up a good result on Saturday, but a Dundee side that are struggling form-wise. And tonight we'll have a big say in how Saturday can shape up.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I'm pretty sure St Mirren are in 7th or 8th now. I think I'm going to double check just quickly on my phone here, just so I know I'm not spouting absolute nonsense. But just get a minute. I've got my phone plugged in behind my computer here. So hold on, where's the table? Yeah, so St Mirren are in 8th. If they beat Dundee and Dundee United don't win, they could go straight up into 7th and be on the same amount of points as Aberdeen. Obviously, relying that Aberdeen don't win their next game as well. But if they're able to do that, I mean, Jim Goodwin was saying last night as well that they were so close to getting top 6 last season and had one of their best seasons in God knows how many. I think it was like 20, 30 years, I think they said roughly. But if they're able to keep on some good form, get some goals against Dundee, get some more points, I think they'll be in for a really good season.
Yep, definitely. With regards to this result for Stephen Glass, this makes Saturday against St Johnstone a very important game for Stephen Glass. And there's not a lot of goals that separate Aberdeen and St Johnstone in recent clashes. There's been maybe a 1-0, 1-0, a 2-1. There's no been a 2-0, 3-0 or anything like that, which just goes to show you that Saturday is going to be another difficult game for Aberdeen Football Club on Saturday.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I know obviously St Johnstone have had a really, really poor run of form now, and that probably on paper you'd look at it like, oh, Aberdeen, easy, 2-0 victors all the way. But when you actually go into the analysis part of it, I think it will be hard for both teams because St Johnstone will be desperate to get those 3 points, and hopefully anyway, they'll be playing as if they're desperate for them, will do anything to get them. But at the same time, Aberdeen, they're up and down like this season. One minute they're getting like 5 good games, and then they crash, and then they're up and down. I think it could go either way, if I'm being honest. I think it just depends who's hungrier and who's more determined to kind of redeem themselves and push themselves up the table.
Yeah, just to clarify, viewers, Bobby Madden is the referee here because I've just seen him walking out the tunnel. So there you go. Everybody that doesn't want Bobby Madden tonight, he's here in McDermott Park.
I was
So
going to
there
say
we
better
go.
then than Motherwell.
JP, scarf indoors. Nope. I'd love to show you where I am, but I'm at McDermott Park. Unfortunately, I'm on a laptop, so I can't really give you any other diagnosis. But I am indeed in the wilderness. I am indeed at St Johnstone. But St Johnstone against Dundee this evening. But tonight, Jenna, football
Yes.
everywhere. Hearts Celtic, what's starting off with Tynecastle. A big game this for both clubs. Celtic under Ange Postecoglou, desperate to get the win, of course, but obviously they've got a lot of injuries right now. Up against the Hearts side, there'll be a lot of talk regarding John Suter, obviously, and they've added to the squad also a team that will be wanting to repeat the heroics of the start of the season when they beat Celtic by 2-1.
Stole the words right out of my mouth there. But yeah, I mean, Celtic have been really injury plagued this season. I think it was in either the State of Scottish Football chart or somewhere else I read it that for every game they've been without at least 6 players due to injuries, which I think is quite a mental stat, to be honest, especially when you think that's 6 individual players, so they're quite lucky. They've got quite an expandable squad as well. But as you were saying, there is also this talk of John Suter. I heard that they've denied a bid from Rangers. I can't remember how much it was because I'd seen a couple of
300k.
I knew it was around about a 6-figure sum. I just couldn't remember the exact one. But yeah, I think, see if I'm being honest, right? See if it was me and my player, because I went to this debate with Tony Watt leaving there, right? You want the player to do well. You want them to get game time. And while they're under your club, you want them to obviously do well, because if they do well, your team does well. But at the same time, it's if they're doing well for us, who's to say they'll do that next game? Who's to say they won't leave after tonight? Do you know what I mean? There's always going to be that bit in the back of your head saying, are you just doing this because you want to play well and want this club to do well, or are you just playing well for your own self-interests?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, Duffy's came in here saying, hopefully Suter isn't involved tonight, but have a feeling he will be. I mean, he got booed last Tuesday against St Johnstone, Jenna, but I mean, a week has passed, and Hearts fans are still not forgetting about this. They want this situation to this as soon as possible.
No, absolutely, I understand. I mean, as I was saying, that's kind of how Mill fans were feeling about Tony Watt. Was like, right, okay, we get it, he's leaving. Just tell us when and get it over and done with. It's like ripping off a plaster. You don't want to drag it on for as long as possible. I think Suter really needs to decide between the club and Rangers when he wants to go and how quickly he can get it. I mean, it must not be nice for him either, being kind of stuck in limbo as well, not knowing when he's going to go. He's going to start training as well, which I think is an aspect a lot of people tend to overlook, is how is the player like doing this, like, at least even still in form. I mean, we kind of mentioned this earlier with Jamie McGrath. His form has been kind of dipped. He's missed a couple of games because of speculation of where he could be going, things like that. And that could potentially be happening to Suter as well. I don't know if that's maybe why he was dropped the past couple of games. But overall, the boy really needs, I say boy, he's like 15 years older than me, but like the player overall, he needs to get his club like completely sorted out. Either he stays at Hearts till the end of the season and leaves, or starts at Rangers and he plays whatever the next Rangers game is. He just needs to get solidified ASAP. And I know it's out of his control, but the agents and both chief execs of managers of both clubs really need to get this deal pushed through as quick as possible.
Now, our contributor, I won't name the contributor, but our contributor has given us some exclusive views. They, of course, have signed Ellis Sims Hearts on loan from Everton, and by all accounts, he's on the bench. And a good addition just for Hearts, especially because they players in the forward areas.
Yeah, is that the boy they just signed a couple hours ago? Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, that's massive. I mean, if he's just signed and he's already on the bench, then that kind of shows the faith you've kind of got in him. Like, he's just through the door, well, officially through the door anyway, and he's already getting a place in the lineup. They must be feeling really hopeful about him. He could come on at any time as well, hopefully change things up in Hearts' favour. And here's hoping the guy does well at Hearts.
Yeah, Kieran 8888. Yes, they did get that Everton lad. He has arrived at Tynecastle on loan from Everton. So good addition that for Robbie Nielsen's side. Now we are waiting for team lines. We're expecting them to be out at 6:30. But in terms of Celtic tonight, is this must win for Ange Postecoglou? Big period coming up for Celtic Football Club. This.
Oh yeah, definitely, especially with an Old Firm game kind of just round the corner, is it not, in 2 weeks' time, I think?
Next week, next Wednesday.
Oh, next week, I forgot it was a weeknight game now. Let's just be honest, that's going to be carnage in the scenes on the streets of Glasgow that night. So good luck to anyone sitting in the city centre that's not affiliated with both teams. But jokes aside, it's going to be massive. I mean, Cal McGregor's out with a facial injury. Now, I'm not a football player. I don't play very well. I used to play daft games when I was a kid, so I was never going in a proper injury because of the game. But I'm really confused as to how a facial injury can have you out for, like, is it not 4 weeks, 5 weeks, Cal McGregor's needs to be out for? Like, see if he's maybe broke his nose, that okay, fair enough, might need to get surgery, wait for it to heal, that's fine. But to just describe it as a facial injury feels kind of misleading in a way, because, like, well, how's that 5 weeks facial injury? Okay, take a knot to the head, you put like a pack of peas on it, you wait a couple of days to make sure you're not concussed, and usually you'll be straight back out.
Yeah, absolutely. I've just seen James Blake walking out the tunnel here at St Dermot Park. He's suited and booted tonight, but we are going to go and stay in Glasgow and go to Rangers against Livingston. Livingston, is it a free hit for Davy Martindale's side, or are they looking to go and create a good account of themselves?
Livingston's a team, again, like I was kind of describing Aberdeen as, is that they seem to be kind of up and down. They started the season kind of poorly, but fair enough, they did have some really hard games at the start. But I think Livingston can go out and get a good result tonight. They've got some strong players. They've made quite a lot of new signings, and it's ones that I'd never heard of from like leagues and that I'd never really had much knowledge of. So I'm kind of excited to see how those players do, especially playing in Scotland. I mean, that's one of the things I've loved about Celtic signing players from like Japan and whatnot, is it seeing how the different players are like trained, like what their skills are like when they're coming from a place that isn't really familiar in terms of players in this country.
As of Rangers, they've been very workmanlike, and they'll need another big performance tonight to overturn Livingston.
Can you see that one again? The audio can cut out.
I've said Rangers have been very workmanlike, and they'll need another fine performance tonight to beat Livingston.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I'm pretty sure they're away. Are they not? Is it not?
No, the game's at Ibrox.
Is it? Oh, that'll go in Rangers' favour then. Absolutely, absolutely. I mean, nothing against Livingston, they're a good side, but when you've got a massive home crowd like that and you're playing at home, I think Rangers will probably most likely get the win from that game.
Yeah. Back to Tynecastle, what do you think of prediction? What do you think Celtic will win, or Hearts draw, or Hearts win?
I think that's going to be a really nitty-gritty game. I don't want to put a specific score, but I think it will either be a clear Celtic victory or a really hard-fought draw between the two sides.
Yeah, I fancy Celtic to nick it. Yeah, I'm going to go for Celtic to make a big result tonight. 2-1 Celtic. And I'm going to go for Rangers to be comfortable against Livingston, win by 3-0. We will get the team news when we get it, of course. We're just rambling through all the games, and then we'll go and speak about the team lines once we get them. And right, okay, next up, we will go to Fir Park, Motherwell against Hibs. Big game for both sides this. Good opportunity for Motherwell to make a statement in a way, considering Motherwell did beat Morton Saturday. They needed extra time to beat Morton, and then obviously the disappointing outcome in Ross County last Tuesday. A good opportunity to reset the button and go again for Graham Alexander's side.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I didn't watch the Ross County game. I've just seen highlights from the game, and from what I have seen, we were quite shocking. I think I said this in the show a couple of weeks ago, that Motherwell are a team that sometimes they get ahead of themselves in terms of their ego. They see teams like Ross County, like Hamilton, especially last season, when they're extreme bottom six, it'll be a walk in the park. We'll easily beat them. We don't need to try that hard, and then we get absolutely destroyed. I mean, it was kind of that way as well against Greenock Morton Saturday. I mean, I fully believe that we could have played for about 5 hours on Saturday without even getting a goal. We were just lucky we got the penalty, and then Liam Donnelly's last-minute screamer as well obviously helped. But as soon as I seen we were playing them, like, it got to like 60 minutes into the game, I was like, no, this is extra time and penalties written all over it, because we are just not trying hard enough. Don't get me wrong, when Kevin Van Veen was brought on, he absolutely did change the game. He did some absolutely brilliant attempts, but none of them go in. Then it's just kind of like, okay, you did well, but still not good enough. We really need to turn it around, and I think Graham Alexander has signed quite a few players. A lot of them are midfield based and like forward midfielders, and it's great to have that versatility in the squad. But at it's at what cost, because they're quite a lot of time players that I think, quite a few fans think should be getting first pickings in that starting 11 just aren't getting in there at all. Like, I mean, players like Kevin Van Veen, I think he should be a first team starter every week. I don't know why he missed out to Jordan Roberts, maybe because it was a cup game. Is like, well, I'll rest Van Veen and now this game doesn't matter as much as the league, which you can argue about that one all day long over whether or not the Scottish Cup's more important than the league when you're in the Premiership. But overall, he should never have been dropped, and I've been saying this all season, and even more so now that Tony Watt's departed. If Alexander wants us to keep pushing for Europe and potentially have a good run this year, get Van Veen up front, and more importantly, have him with that new young Irish lad we signed as well, because he was absolutely outstanding in his debut on Saturday.
Absolutely. For Hibs, they've had a bit bigger advantage because they last played on Thursday. They've had an opportunity to rest and recuperate.
Yeah, I mean, absolutely. Like, being a footballer is tiring work. There's no doubt about that. But again, I'm also one of those people who say sometimes you can rest too much. And if you've not been able to get in training enough before a game, as well as having that rest period, it can shoot you in the foot. That's why I'm one of those people that's a bit unsure sometimes about why you play on a Wednesday and then like a Saturday or Sunday for the Sky or whatnot, because there are still quite a few days on either side of that that are dedicated to just rest instead of training. I don't want to overwork them either, don't get it twisted at all, but I think there needs to be a more kind of emphasis on the training, but maybe by just like even half a day or an extra day. Do you know what I mean?
I'll make the topic a little bit easier for you by asking you this question. Do you think there's too much? Do you think clubs are playing too much football? Do you think in terms of Scottish Cup, Scottish Premiership, for Celtic and Rangers, European football, there's a Premier Sports Cup. Do you think there's too much football getting played?
I don't think that there's too much football. I just think there's too much football at the one time. So say, you remember how last season, like, Scottish Cup got played later on in the season and it ended up pretty sure the Cup was won after the season was finished. See, if we played it like that more, I think it'd be a lot easier on teams. Obviously, it's good that we'd have the two cups and obviously the league, but I think, say, if it was to go down to just one cup, I wouldn't be angry. But then again, we've not won it in like 30 years. Like, if we were to win like a double or like one of the cups this year, but no, bring back, like, win again another one. Like, but like, all jokes aside, though, I do think it's just too much at once rather than too much altogether.
Absolutely. I mean, looking at tonight's game, I mean, it's going to be one of those that there won't be much separate sides. Two sides that like to play forward-thinking football. Yeah,
definitely. I mean, I was looking at the table earlier on as well because I was trying to see how other games like around the grounds would impact Motherwell and our league positioning. And I think overall there's about like 2 points separating us and Hibs. There's about 3 overall between us and Aberdeen, about 3 or 4 at least, and then about 5, I think, between us and like St Mirren, like I was below them. So it's kind of really intense this season. It's kind of just came out of the blue, I think, and I've just not been paying enough attention. But again, I think a lot of the results tonight in terms of progression for a lot of teams will just depend on how their neighbours do, like around the grounds.
Yeah, definitely. As I'm saying, we're going to get team wins. First and foremost, is we'll go to Perth. We'll go to here. So Johnson against Dundee. A big game for both sides. It's a huge game in terms of the relegation. It's a 6-pointer, basically.
Yes, the relegation derby, as I like to call it. Like, St Johnstone, I say this all the time, I'm honest, because they've still not turned it around yet. I just want to know, how did they crash and burn so hard? Obviously, they lost some very key important players at the start of the season and they got enough buttons for them. But even then, like, that's not an excuse. Like, your team can't fall apart just because you've lost 1 or 2 key players. And for Dundee as well, I mean, I knew Dundee would find it hard because obviously there is a different level of standards of quality in the Premiership compared to the Championship. But I didn't expect them to be straight back into almost getting relegated back down to the Championship in their first season.
Yeah, absolutely. Yep. In terms of St Johnstone, just to start things off, McCann and Kerr were massive losses for Carl Davidson's side. Also, they've got an aging squad, which doesn't help their cause at all. And that's been to the predicament in the misdemeanor so far this year. Obviously, not helping by the fact that they could beat McKelty 1-0 on Saturday there. As for Dundee, signed some big players, probably big household players. terms of like Griffiths and Paul McMillan and Jason Cummings and the Charlie Adam. Has it clicked? It's clicked. It clicked last season. It clicked. Jason Pick trying to strengthen the squad, bringing in Griffiths hasn't materialised. Like Griffiths, to his credit, has went and scored some goals of late, but is it going to be enough to warrant a new deal? Time will tell. Time will tell. It's like a clock. You wish you could move that clock just to see what the end outcome is.
Absolutely. I mean, did Lee Griffiths play in the Celtic Hearts game at all?
The Barton game, yeah, he scored.
Very well, that's kind of a surprise, but I did kind of predict on the Wednesday night last week. I was like, Celtic Hearts are going to put St Johnstone at the cup, and that's going to be what hopefully motivates them to try to turn their season round. And see, when I seen that I was actually right, I was kind of surprised. I was like, what's the bet? I'm going to say that, and St Johnstone are going to like run away like 6-0 victors. But overall, I mean, getting put out the team and the cup, even by a team in League Two when you're Premiership and have just won the same cup the year before, it kind of says a lot. I mean, Dundee as well, like they have been getting better. They've got some good players. It's just something's just not working in these teams. It's kind of hard to pinpoint a specific reason, but whatever that reason is, it needs to get rooted out and changed, and it needs to get changed fast.
Now, it's funny because I didn't know about Declan Calker's past, right? He's also linked with Dundee yesterday. I didn't have a single clue about his past, right? And obviously he was getting linked with Dundee on loan yesterday. And then I was saying Declan Calker is better than what Dundee have got defensively right now.
Yeah,
and then somebody was like, no, I think it's to look after him after his past misdemeanors. And I'm like, okay, maybe fair enough. I didn't have a single clue what they were on about until I had a look at Google and I noticed he was serving time, obviously, which is unfortunate from his perspective. But Tardis, let's go to Dundee now. Lovely Bakers, Claxton Bakers, of course. But big game this. Dundee against Ross County. Dundee United win, which would be the first league win in 8 games. If it's the first win in 8 league games, that's them above Aberdeen, if I'm not mistaken. Whilst Ross County, fine start to the season, you got to keep that going tonight. Disappointed with Saturday, but it's an opportunity to reignite this season and rectify what happened this Saturday.
Yeah, I was going to say, who did Ross County end up playing in the cup? Because I missed it.
Livingston.
Did they get beat by Livingston? Well, even then, that's not as painful for them because obviously it's a team in like their own league. That game could have easily went either way. That's just kind of bad luck for them. But yeah, I mean, see the amount of teams lately have been having a really poor run of form. It is kind of worrying to see. I mean, obviously Muller hasn't had the best runs this season, and I never claim this isn't me looking down on the team or anything, but overall, it has made me wonder how come a lot of these managers aren't under further scrutiny. Because you're saying about Dundee have like no wins in 8. St Mirren were kind of getting the same way. Aberdeen's a bit sugary and has been since Stephen Glass took over. James McPake as well. Like, it's just, I just think that there's going to be a massive overhaul next season. I think a lot of these managers are going to have to part ways, which is a shame, really, because football's the only institution in the world where if the workers aren't doing their jobs right, it gets their manager sacked instead of the other way about.
Yeah, I think the pandemic's played a part. I think the pandemic's played a part in that, unfortunately, which obviously means that clubs are being vigilant and being wary about dismissing managers early doors. I mean, Carl Davidson is obviously about 11-10, but I think last season helped them massively. It's helped in terms of job security. It's not a job for life, it may add, but it has helped in terms of that job security. James would take the same, the pandemic, and obviously the Dundee board being very loyal to the managers has helped in that regard as well. So I think that's been a massive help in this regard.
Oh, yeah, I agree massively.
So, I've forgotten the predictions. Fair Park, Burrow, Hibs, what are we thinking?
6-6, not kidding. I must say, if it did end up 6-6, I've seen this on Twitter and I can't remember who posted it, but it did make me laugh. It was like if it went to 6-6 with this generation that Graham Alexander would burst out of his trench coat like the Hulk and try and go herself. And I can actually imagine it. I'm like, yeah, he probably would. Or he'd get sent off for trying to shout abuse like after like their like 4th goal. But no, I can see this being a really good game for Motherwell. We're in good form now. I'm going to be bold and say 2-1 to Motherwell.
Yeah, I'm going to go for a score draw here. I'm going to go 1 each. But I wouldn't rule out a dead either because Motherwell and Hibs are the sides that have the calibre and the criteria in order to serve up goals. So there's a possibility for goals indeed tonight. What we're thinking from here at Dermot Park is Joystick against Dundee.
I think it's going to be quite scrappy. I think I would be surprised if it finished nothing each, to be honest. But the result I want to see is with 1 or 2-0 on either side of the fence. But I can't see it realistically being nothing each.
I think there'll be a goal, and I better watch what I'm saying here, but I think Dundee will win tonight.
Let's just put the St Johnstone media team out round about you.
No, I think we're fine. Stuck up over the press, that's it, just now. And finally, Tynecastle, Dundee against Ross County.
I'm going to say 1-0 to United. 1-0. 1 each maybe at a push, but
I fancy United to be solid and then hitting the counter and hitting the good areas. Tony Watt's got a big game in him tonight, I think. He came on Tuesday. Didn't really make a solid enough impact in terms of Saturday. He was involved. I went to leave his off the ball movement was exciting and good to watch, but when it was the efforts of the goal, that was disappointing from his perspective. But Mark McNulty scored on Saturday, huge positive from his perspective. And I think he's got a goal in tonight, so he's hoping he comes up with a good. Also, they're not playing Motherwell, so he can kind of breathe a sigh of relief that way. But we are good to wait for the team wins. I could just clarify, by the way, that I am absolutely freezing here at McDermott Park. That's why the scarf's on and the gilets on. Is there team wins? Oh yes, we've got the Dundee team wins here. They are lining up as Langston's, Kerr, Fontaine, Sweeney, Barn. Sean Barnes the captain tonight. McGowan, Elliott, McCowan, McMullen, Anderson and Griffiths. Subs for Dundee is Waller, Sharp, 2 goalies, Jakubiak, Dade, Chapman, Mulligan, Robertson, Adam and McGinn. I don't know much about that McGinn guy, to be honest, but good team otherwise.
Yeah, it's quite surprising to see Griffiths back in the squad. I did think that Dundee were just going to let him go, if I'm being honest, especially with kind of the controversies attached to his name and just like the style of player he is and like what many would describe as an attitude problem. But I mean, fair enough. I mean, you can obviously argue the morality of Griffiths and players like him all day long, but if you're going based on absolute ability, I think he is beneficial for Dundee, and I think Dundee's beneficial for him. But I'm just quite surprised he's in the starting 11, never mind the actual team sheet overall.
Yeah, we're waiting for the Johnson team, but we'll get team news as we get them. But looking at the side for Dundee, surprised Charlie Adams not played to an extent.
Yeah, like I wasn't sure if like maybe the audio had glitched. That's how I never heard you saying his name. But if he's been dropped, then maybe that is something that should be looked into. I mean, has he been linked with anywhere? Is he injured or what? Like I haven't, and like could kind of explain it on the outside at all.
No, I haven't heard anything. And we've got the Motherwell side for tonight. They are lined up with Kelly, O'Donnell, Soho, Carroll, McGinley, Goss, McGuire, Donnelly, Shields, Roberts and Van Veen. Subs for Motherwell are Fox, Rory, Shaw, Oyala, Slattery, Amaluza, I'll go back right there, Cornelius, Tierney and Nivenald. Now, do you know a lot about this new guy, Nivenald?
I don't, but he seems quite promising from what I've read like about him when he first signed.
Yeah, absolutely. What do you think of that Motherwell side tonight?
I think it's really promising. I mean, as I was saying, Van Veen should be a starting player every week. I'm sitting looking at it here. What worries me is how Mugabe's still out. Apparently, he took a bad head knock, I think, at the Ross County game, and he's still not in. But I was also sadly reminded that I think he's out of contract this season as well. So if this is maybe the transfer window's out of contract, he might be dropped because he might be looking at other places. I've not heard anything. That's just sheer speculation from me. And they're using kind of the injured thing to be like, oh no, that's why he's not here. Because that's exactly what they did with Declan Gallagher last season as well when he was talking to Aberdeen. Oh yeah, he's got a bad hip injury. Oh well, he's not playing like that. But overall, it's looking promising. Shields, Roberts, Van Veen, Donnelly as well, getting him back in the side is brilliant. Jake Carroll, he's a great defender. I don't know why Alexander insisted on benching him most weeks and barely playing him when he is such a really good player. And again, no offence to Heath McGinn, I love all the Muller players to bits, but I think it's the right decision that he was dropped.
Yep. Right, we're starting to get team lines from around the grounds, but we've got the Celtics starting lineup. We'll hopefully get the Hearts one in just a couple of minutes. Celtic lineup is Hart, Juranovic, Carter Vickers, Starfelt, Taylor, Beaton, O'Reilly, Atate, Forrest, Giacomakis, and Jota. The bench is Bay, Welsh, Scales, Julian, Ralston, McCarthy, Abada, Sorrow, and Doak. What do you think of that? They've got a lot of big players at Celtic, obviously, but strong team there.
Yeah, I mean, I'm quite surprised. I'm going to butcher this guy's name, so I'm sorry in advance to the Celtic fans, but is it Abadaba? No, it sounds
Abada.
Yeah, thank you. I was surprised he wasn't getting a game because he's been really strong for Celtic. I thought he was like going to be a much more regular player. But I mean, rest of the squad's quite good. I mean, as we were saying earlier, like, they've been really injury plagued this season. But the fact they're able to have so many players on standby of the same calibre to slot in, I think says a lot about Ange Postecoglou and his ability to train players well and sign good players as well, because he's made quite a lot this season.
Yeah, absolutely. The Hearts side for tonight is Gordon, Smith, Kingsley, Suter, Harron, Boyce, Devlin, Cochrane, Mackay, Halkett, and Ginelli. Now, our contributor that I won't disclose did give us a wee insight that Ginelli would be playing up front or indeed in a forward-thinking role as he usually does, and that's proved to be the case. The bench for Hearts is Stewart, Barigby, McInniff, Woodburn, Ty Stephen, Atkinson, Halliday, Sims, and Henderson. So, big news there. Suter starting as per usual. Sims on the bench for Hearts. Ginelli in either a forward role or obviously Boyce will play that one and Ginelli just behind. A strong team, that from Hearts tonight.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I know we were talking about it earlier, but Suter really is a good player. It's just a shame how there's all this like bad stuff going to his name because he might be going to Rangers and now he might be going at the end of the season. The fans aren't too happy about it. There's kind of indecisiveness between the actual Hearts fan base of do we like him or do we not? Like, do we want him to play? But if he's going as actually a good ship against Celtic, then fair enough. There's nothing really more they can ask from him in terms of his actual ability.
Yeah, absolutely. By the way, I'd just like to clarify it's gotten even more colder here at McDermott Park, but it's okay. We'll keep going. As for right, okay, we've touched them overall. We've got the Hibs team. Hibs line up with Macy, McGinn, Rocky, Stevenson, Cadden, Doyle Hayes, Newell, Campbell, Doig, Muir, and Nisbet. The bench for Hibs is Dabrowski, Wright, Deutsch, Murphy, Allen, McGregor, Scott, Henderson, and Mitchell. So, Jenna, what we think of the side that are going to try and combat their way past Motherwell?
So this is going to be a really interesting team because one thing I've noticed about Hibs is that their key players actually haven't been doing that well. Like, I don't know if the viewers will know this or not, but I write a section in the Muddle programmes like every week for the games for when we're at home about the main team and like who's kind of the players to look out for, who's likely to be a thorn in Muddle side and whatnot. And so you try to pick one from Hibs, it was really difficult because on paper it was like, well, Nisbet deserves a look into Josh Deutsch. Martin Boyle obviously would have been wouldn't be crying out if he hadn't just moved a couple of days before he had to write it. Like, but then when we looked into it, it seems to be like players like Nisbet and like even Chris Cadden as well. One game they'll be like flying high, being amazing, and then they're really poor in the next game, and then they're amazing and they're not. I think depending on what kind of mindset and form that the individual players are in, the up front, so that defence, Willow could easily run circles around them. Or Hibs can absolutely annihilate, as it could easily go either way depending on how these players are feeling.
Yeah, I am waiting for this Johnston team lines. I don't think they're here yet. Nope, just some photos telling everybody that the Johnston team has arrived. But with regards to how Johnston will probably set up, how do you think they can approach this game, Jenna?
I think they really need to be attacking focused. They've had very few goals this season, very few points. I mean, you can play defensive and walk away with like a nothing each draw and both sides get a point, but overall, that's not going to get you escape in that bottom zone. I mean, we're going to check the table just so I know the exact points they're on. So here we go. Like,
how funny was that Sunday night?
and Dundee's on 16. So we call it 2 points between them, right? A win separates them, and then if they get another couple of Ross County kind of drops a wee bit of form, they could easily move up to 10th. Same with Dundee, obviously, if they get a win, they can climb as well. These teams need to be more attacking instead of trying to defend, I feel. So if they go out there with at least 2 or 3 forwards and a couple of attacking centre mids, then they should be hopefully winners of the game for either side, that is obviously. But overall, they just need to focus on getting those wins.
Yeah, I'm having a wee look at the St Johnstone goalies. They've just came in for their warm-up just now. And I've noticed that those are the clock for St Johnstone. It's Elliot Parrish and the other goalkeeper. So it'll be interesting to see if Xander Clark is either getting treatment or he's still involved in the team talk. But quite intriguing to see Xander Clark hasn't warmed up for St Johnstone yet.
Yeah, I mean, Xander Clark was one of the best players for St Johnstone last season, and even this season. Obviously, look at the results, well, how can that be able to keep losing? Sometimes I don't think people get the blame for last season, whatnot, and sometimes it's not all their fault. Your defenders play a role in that, so I try not to judge goalkeepers of bottom side teams too harshly because of that. But overall, I mean, was he not linked to Aberdeen as well, a potential move?
Yeah, he's linked to Aberdeen. He's linked with a couple of clubs in England. So I think it's an interesting situation regarding what happens with Xander Clark. By the way, I am indeed Big Dave. A lot of the guys are wondering who I am. Yep, I'm the guy that's at the McDermott Park, absolutely freezing right now. But let's get some more team news. How do you think this game could have won and lost for both St Johnstone and Dundee? But also, what's the repercussions for either side that goes and loses this game?
I think for St Johnstone, as I was kind of saying, they need to be extremely attacking focused. They need to go out there. They have to keep Dundee on their toes the way St Mirren did with Aberdeen last night. Try and replicate kind of that overall strategy as much as they feasibly can, and get a goal to, I'd say, at least 2 or 3 just to keep them like a safety net. Because if you score 3, they're very unlikely to come back and score 4 to beat you. Do you know what I mean? Like, overall, they need to be attacking focused, and I think what could go wrong for them today is if the midfielders and the defenders just aren't in for the game, like they don't have a spirit for it. Because the goalkeeper can only do so much to keep goals out. Your midfield and your defenders need to play their part too. And I think if this game does go badly, I think the board need to start saying to Callum Davidson, right, let's talk business here. What's going on? Why are these not winning? And is there anything we as a board can do to help? Or in a more negative, and I hope this doesn't happen because I've got a lot of respect for Callum Davidson as a manager. Right, you've done your bit, you got us the cup, away you go. But I hope that's not the case, don't get me wrong. But at the same time, he can't use the cup double as a get a jail free card forever.
Yeah, absolutely. The lineups for Rangers v Livingston. By the way, apologies if you can hear the background noise because the music's just turned on here at McDermott Park. Rangers lineup as follows: McGregor in goals, Tavernier, Colson, Bassey, Alisic, Kamara, Sands, Warren getting a justified start after Friday night's performance against Stirling Albion there. Scott Wright, Fashion Junior, and into the bench for Rangers is McLaughlin, Simpson, King, Lundstrom, Jack, Arfield, McCann, Barker, Booth. Good side that for Rangers, but also they can look at the bench, say that Jack and Arfield's there. There's a possibility to give them game time if the game is comfortable from a Rangers point of view.
Yeah, I mean, I'm looking at the team sheet here as well. It looks quite strong. Obviously, Tavernier's a good player, McGregor's a good player. That Fashion Junior, he seems to be quite a good player. I've only seen him play a couple of times. So if I'm wrong, please someone let me know. But from what I've seen of him, he's impressed as well. Kamara, obviously, he's kind of tried and tested. That's what you expect from Kamara. He's really good. And I think most of those players are going to be the biggest thorns in Livingston's side this evening.
Yep, absolutely. Livingston line up with Stryek, Devlin, Fitzwater, Oberlai, Longridge, Holt, Omiroga, Pittman, Bailey, and Anderson. I think Livingston are trying to approach it worked looked a treat for them last Tuesday when they beat Dundee in terms of Anderson away from the front, Shinnill being behind, and they were able to get a lot of physique within the forward areas. And I think that's going to work a treat for them at Rangers, especially at Rangers when they get ruffled up, can be a difficult side, and they can be hard to deal with defensively.
Yeah, I mean, Livingston are a side a lot of people kind of write off, like off the bat, especially against old firm sides. But I mean, I'd be more in Livingston's favour for them to get a positive result from the game if this was actually getting played at the Tony Macaroni. But I think because it is at Ibrox, those forward players are going to have to work their absolute socks off tonight, especially their keeper and their defenders as well. They are going to be basically on their overtime tonight in terms of like their ability and the determination they need to put in.
Yeah, absolutely. Bench for Livingston is Malley, Boys, Lewis, McMillan, Jacobs, Montano, Forrest, Duke, Rebecca. Big names tonight, Jenna. And Newbley, Joe Newbley back in the squad for Livingston tonight in tonsillitis last week. How pivotal is it that Livingston's got Joel Newbley back in the squad? You can use him in the second half if required.
Yeah, I mean, he's one of those players that you can bring on at like any moment and it can really change the game for Livingston. Hopefully, they don't need to make that substitution. Obviously, you want the game to go well, the team you're talking about at the time. But if he's able to come on and like change things up and provide a good asset to the team, especially against such a very, very hard opponent, then let's just hope he's able to do it.
Right, we're going to go to Tynecastle now. The Dundee lineup is as follows: Seekers to goals, Pollock, McNulty, Edwards, Butcher, Levitt, Freeman, Harks, Watt, McMahon, Fuchs. Now, that would be the first week start for Tony Watt. He came on, obviously, against Suburban, but first proper week start in terms of starting straight away.
Just gonna say I am so happy for Tony. It's so good seeing him get a game. So happy. No, actually not. But no, I'm joking, guys. I'm joking. Yeah, I mean it looks like a really good team. I haven't seen much of Dundee United this season. I won't lie. From what I have seen, they have appeared promising. And Tony Watt coming in will obviously increase their ability massively. He's a really good player, as much as I hate saying this and the bad books, but he is able to get them goals easily. I mean, there's a reason why he was the league's top goal scorer. A reason, do you know what I mean?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, when you look at the Stud United side, a good side out tonight. Fuchs back in. He's been playing consistently over the past week. Carl Butcher had a solid display for the back on Saturday, and then from the start tonight.
Yeah, I mean, both teams will need to work extremely hard, Ross County especially, maybe more so than Dundee United, just because they are kind of skirting that relegation spot down the bottom. But I think Dundee United will want to show that they've wasted no money in getting Tony Watt. I mean, I know it was on like a six-figure fee, but it was only 100k, which isn't a lot in terms of like money football clubs can spend. But for a team like Dundee United, that is still quite a lot of money, and they'll be trying to make sure he puts the money where the board's mouth was as such.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I think the Giants' business is still far from complete. I think Tony Ashcroft still has a bit more to do.
Yeah, if they can get a couple more players in, even if it's just on loan till the end of the season, then there's no harm in it, because again, if it's on loan, they can easily, like, didn't work out, we'll send you back, like, all the best type of thing. And if it does work out, you never know, they could end up splitting them up for good. I think the January window is really important for things like that. It's also really annoying for when one of your players leaves, but in terms of getting players in, I think it is really important. Sometimes those January signings can make or break a team season.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, when you look at Dundee United, the bench is Eriksson, Sporler, Niskanen, Clark, Mikason, Hughes, Glass, Hockey, and Perry. Let me count here.
Yeah, they've got 8 subs there, which is quite handy, especially since you can make 5. So I think they've came out.
Eight subs, but 7 are attacking players.
Yeah. I mean, they've really got the ability here. Dundee United can go out and really put a good performance. I mean, as you were saying, they're 7 attacking players. You don't put them in your sub bench for no reason. They're clearly expecting quite a good fight from Ross County. So here's hoping their subs and their players overall can fall into place with whatever the manager's decided.
How impressed have you been with Ross County this season? Obviously, to beat your club rival last week. How impressed have you been with the job Marky Mackay's done at Dingwall?
Yeah, I mean, obviously Ross County are kind of at the bottom of the table, so it's quick to think, oh, they must be doing poorly. But overall, for a team with the amount of resources and the budget they have, I think they've done well. They seem to have recruited well as well. While Mackay has made some quite strong differences to the squad, and I think they are doing quite well. Like if you take league position out of it, they are a good side. A lot of people they're kind of like Livingston and whatnot. Like they get written off kind of off the bat, like oh, it's only them, it's only them. And the minute you do that, they tend to get a good result against you, or they provide a really strong performance, and they might just get defeated by bad luck and like an odd questionable referee decision.
Absolutely. The Ross County side for Saturday tonight is made on Brewer, Randall, Vulcans, Harry Payton, Spittle, Calkin, Dominic Samuel, Yakoviti, Charles Cook, Drysdale, and White. How pivotal is Regan Charles Cook going to be for Marky Mackay's side this season?
Yeah, massive. I mean, when was it he signed? Was it during the summer or was it just there
He signed last summer, signed
last summer?
summer 2020.
Yeah, I mean, he's going to be like really beneficial. Like, County are a side. They're a bit like Mullins in terms of they get a player and oftentimes they have to sell them on to get more money in order to kind of build up their budget, build up their squad in other ways. So if they're able to get him in playing quite well as the likes of Callahan again, they got him quite recently from Hamilton. He's turned out to be a really good player for Ross County. As long as they can get like all these players kind of mash up and link up well, I don't see why they couldn't put on a good show tonight.
Yeah. By the way, we're giving Pedro Scotland a run for our money tonight, Jenna, because we're live on the ground and you probably hear the music in the background, a bit like what they do in open all mics. So there we go, we're giving Pedro Scotland a good run for our money there tonight. But how do you see, in terms of this game, in terms of the teams that you've seen, both sides that have got a good attacking impetus about them?
Yeah, I mean, definitely. We've been kind of saying throughout the show. I mean, Tony Watt, really strong player. As I've said already, there's a reason why he was the league's top goal scorer. I don't know if he still is, because obviously he wasn't playing the first game for Dundee United in the league and whatnot. Or was that? I can't remember if that was the first game or not. Was the league or Scottish Cup? But overall, like, there's a reason why he got that achievement. There's a reason why Dundee United signed him. He's proven he can get the goals that they desperately need to continue climbing up that table. And then like players like Callahan, I mean, he's a midfielder, I'm sure, if not, like he's a forward overall. And he's been really good for us. They've also got the likes of Jordan White. He wasn't the best at Motherwell, fair enough, but he seems to have turned it round after moving to Ross County. And sometimes it's just about finding a team that plays in a style that suits you as a player and who the overall strategies can benefit you in the way you train, the way you prepare, and your mentality going into the game. If you're a striker and you're not thinking, I'm going to score tonight, are you really prepared for the game?
I would like to clarify that it's getting even more colder here.
Will you be keeping your headphones on for the game then, just to keep you warm?
I've got a hat thankfully, so that'll do it. The suggested side for tonight is Quacker starts. Maybe he was getting a little bit of he was getting a wee pep talk before we spoke about the goalies to St Johnstone. So Sander Clark starts for St Johnstone. The outfield players are Brown, Queenie. Dan Queenie gets his second start for St Johnstone, I think. Wayne Gordon, McCart, Booth, Davidson, McPherson, Butterfield, Henry, and Chiefchi. The bench for St Johnstone is Parish, Galker, Craig, Gilmore, Crawford, Middleton, Kane, and May. Now, good defensive nucleus, good balanced nucleus, Johnston, but they're struggling in terms of attackers. They'll need strikers on towards the tail end of the game if they're going to get a result.
Yeah, I mean, I would see this either if St Johnstone tried to sign a striker on loan as well, just to have that extra attacking ability. As a bad on this full game, a lot of teams, like, yeah, they've been drawn in that constantly, but end of the day, it's goals and strikers that help you win games the most. You need 3 points, and St Johnstone badly need them, and I think maybe get a striker and a wee midfielder in there on loan would be beneficial.
I mean, they've got a good team, St Johnstone, and far too many former cricket players on the bench tonight, which is a massive concern by St Johnstone fan.
Yeah, I mean, even if they had an extra defender that was just a defensive midfielder, if you still want someone to control that middle area, it would be beneficial. I think, to be honest, the board needs to either put some money into the transfer window just to get some more players in. But whether or not they're actually feasibly able to do that is a different thing that I don't think either of us will know the answer to.
I think the first goal's key in this game tonight.
Yeah, that would be the winner, I think, to be honest. I've got a feeling just because of the way both these teams are in the league, the type of season they've had, I've got a feeling that one goal will be make or break for either side. Make one, but break the other.
Yeah. With regards to how you think tonight will go, how do you think the whole? How do you think every game in the league will shape up? Do you think there'll be a few surprises along the way, or?
I think we're going to get plenty of goals, hopefully. I think, let's be honest, I hate how this is even a possibility, but our league and our refs is very possible. I think there'll probably be at least 2 or 3 refereeing incidents to debate in tomorrow's night show, if not Friday's. I think there might be a couple of dodgy yellow cards, maybe even as bold enough to see a red card on the go. Some bold predictions here. And I think there's going to be 2 draws tonight.
Yeah, absolutely. So, where's the referee incident's going to be?
I think it's going to be someone will either not get a penalty, that should have been a penalty, or they've been given one, or that should be one. They would change with that one, but I'll let you guys who I was meaning with that one. But yeah, I mean, I think it's going to be along the lines of that. Maybe again, a couple of dodgy yellows should have been a red, or like a red that should have just been a yellow, or not a card at all. Just kind of the usual stuff we've gone to expect from Scottish football, which is sad, but you go, isn't it?
I mean, I think obviously the league are going to be Rangers and Celtic on the other side of the swords as they are every year. If Hart could go and get a good result tonight, it's a big result and a big statement for Robinho's side.
Definitely. I mean, I was quite shocked when Hearts beat them at the first day of the season, and to be honest, as someone that's obviously not a fan of either Celtic or Rangers, I know quite a few who watch this sometimes think I'm a Rangers fan or a Celtic fan, depending on who get my praise that night. But overall, I think we were all a bit like Hearts that day, because we can actually beat them. Like, teams outside the Old Firm can actually beat each other, because it rarely happens in the league, and it was really good to see it happen. And if we're able to do it again tonight, then absolutely fair play, because it's not an easy thing to do.
Yeah, absolutely. Like, looking back at the last night, big results, both League 1 and League 2, obviously played 2 Clyde pulled back twice because they entered the league on 2 occasions there. It's a good draw from a Clyde perspective, but also big win for Elgin City, beating Celtic Hearts by 2-0 last night.
Is it okay if you can repeat that? The sound kind of got messed up from the wind there, sorry.
Sorry. Big result for Clyde, drawn 2-2 with Airdrie, come back twice because Airdrie won the league on 2 occasions, and then Elgin City beat Celtic Hearts 2-0 last night, which was a big result for Gavin Price's side at Borough Briggs.
Yeah, I mean, I don't get to watch the lower leagues as much as I'd like to, and I know Airdrie's technically classed as a rival to Motherwell, but we've not played them long enough for it to feel like one anymore, to be honest. Well, for me anyway, I mean, last time we played them this summer, I don't think I was born, to be honest, which kind of says a lot. I mean, I'm only 19-20 for kind of reference for that one, but yeah, I mean, if Airdrie does well this season, I mean, I joked at the start of this one when things were a bit like topsy-turvy at Motherwell. Hamilton just went down. I was like, you know what? It'd be a good laugh if Airdrie won the league, got promoted, and Motherwell went to the championship and got 2 derbies a season.
Absolutely. Right, I would normally take us up to the hour, but Jenna, we've covered every blade of grass this evening, and we're going to finish there. So thank you very much to everybody for tuning in. Much appreciated. It's time for everybody on Coronation Street, obviously. So I'll let you enjoy that. I'm going to be absolutely freezing here at McDermott Park, and enjoy your evening, whatever you're up to. So for me and Jenna, thank you very much.